welcome to this edition of the Morning Breakfast Show here on the Community Desk. You are joined in with me, your host, Alex Chimba. And apparently, we have lost prodigal child, Zipporah Mshala, in the house, who I'll be able to actually allow to greet you. I'm sure you missed her on this platform. So before we just get to that, let me just introduce real quick on what we're talking about this morning. So we're just trying to explore the possible impacts of the seemingly drought or the climate change on small-scale farmers. And we'll be joined in by SAFADA Executive Director, MOOBWE, who will be coming in shortly. Yeah, but before that, let me just greet my colleague Zipporah Mshala. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, Alex. How have you been? I really missed being here.
Yeah, for sure. And I must mention that it was quite a strange, you know.
It was quite quiet because I'm very noisy.
Yeah, but then you were in Kabwe and you were doing some assignments there. Just explain to us how is Kabwe at the moment and what were you working on?
Okay, I think Kabwe currently needs a lot of development. That's what I saw. There's a lot of hunger there. People are doing like a lot of hard work to make little income. So I think there's a lot of development, there's a lot of potential we need to explore, especially we need to revamp dead industries in Kabwe. It has got many dead industries and these need to be revamped. There's Kifco, there's of course there Mulungushi and so many other industries. These need to be revamped so that people can have economic activity. So I think that's one thing that stood up. There are limited economic opportunities in Kabwe. So I'm sure we'll be able to see some of those stories as we go on during the week.
Oh yeah, we are expectant.
Yes.
But really, what major assignment did you follow in Kabwe? Just maybe share a little bit about the background about the store. Okay,
so the major assignment that I followed was there was a Thanksgiving banquet by the Flaming Fire Ministries of God. They were actually dedicating the Attorney General, Mr. Mulilo Kabesha, and the Minister of Small Medium Enterprises Development, Mr. Elias Mubanga. And they were actually emphasizing as a church that just because someone has gone into leadership, they were saying that doesn't mean they should throw away their Christian values. Oh, yeah. So they're saying politicians have to uphold Christian values and detest corruption and all these other bad moral decay and all that.
Yeah, so Zipporah, on today's edition, we discussed something that is quite important to our people, especially those who are doing farming. You know, we've noticed the late, rainfall, and that has quite triggered a lot of anxieties among our citizens out there, those who are small-scale farmers especially. What do you make of, in terms of climate change, really, the effects on farming? Just a little bit of the effects that it causes on farming.
Yeah, I think I can say we have dug our own grave as Zambians because we've been cutting charcoal, especially in Kabwe, the place where it stays opposite a major market called Kachulu Market. And you find that there, it's actually a hub. The ground has even changed. When you go there, the soil is black because people they are trading charcoal. Like that's the major business. You find trucks of charcoal are being offloaded. So I think I can say we've dug our own grave. We've been cutting trees and now we're paying the consequences. So now we just have to emphasize on reforestation to make sure that at least we can protect our future generations.
Oh yeah. Before we just preempt a lot of things, I'm sure we don't just start a day
without a
little bit of a stretch. And I'm sure you're just maybe coming from your beds and you are preparing yourself for work, for the market, anything that you will be able to embark on today. But before you just do that, here is something that will just a little bit stretch you, and we're calling it the Morning Boost. This is for you. Stay tuned.
It's a beautiful morning and I welcome you to Morning Boost. I'm so glad that you've tuned in and hope you had a great night. So let's do some workouts this morning and we're going to have a great time. So we're going to start with a warm-up and then make some aerobics movements for today. Okay, ready? Let's go. A beautiful morning to everybody and welcome to Morning Boost. Let's go. Go. And the V step now. Let's go. Last V step. Back to step touch. V step. Let's go. Let's go. And marching. And 4, 3, 2, step touch, go. Bring in your hands now. Let's go, let's go. Just a quick workout in the morning. Not a full-fledged workout, no. Keep going. And 4, 3, 2, hamstring, go. Four, 3, 2, step touch. Four, 3, 2, and hamstring. And 4, 3, 2, step touch. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Keep going. Stay at it. Go. Easy basic workouts for the morning. And marching. Skip, jump now. Go. Let's go. Skip. Try this. Even if you feel heavy in your body, you can do this. Let's go. There's always a first time. You may struggle, but it's doable. Let's go. And 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Change now. Let's go. Very easy for a morning workout. Lift your knee very high. Go. Let's go. Stay at it. Stay at it. We're going to bring in a kick now from a knee high to a kick. Go. Go. Let's go. Let there be a blood circulation on your legs so that you don't have that numbness you feel at times. Kick. 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 Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Straight kicks now. Go. Straight kicks. Go in the sides. Okay, keep going. Almost done with our 5 minutes workout. Knee high. Try this every morning. It's gonna do wonders to your body. Let's go, we're almost there. All right, team. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. This is Isaac Mata, your presenter. I'm gonna see you next time at the same time, and have a great day. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.
Welcome back to Morning Breakfast Show here on Camnet TV, on the community desk to be specific. I'm now joined in with Blessings Chakwila, who's our sports desk reporter, with a colleague who will be able to discuss the sport update. That is the Zambia POO Union of Zambia General Secretary, Testa Sinkombwe. Good morning, Blessings. Good morning, Mr. Sinkombwe.
Good morning, Alex.
All right, so Blessings, you are the sports reporter here on Camnet TV, and having to just have a bit of a broader perspective of sports, not just football. And here we have a person coming from the POO Union, that is to do with pool table and everything, the pool sport. So what do you have for us today?
Well, Alex, basically today I would like for Mr. Sinkombwe to actually explain the pool sport in Zambia.
Okay.
So Mr. Sinkombwe, how popular is pool in Zambia?
Yeah, thank you very much, first of all, for inviting us. Blessings, Alex. Yeah, pool is actually very popular. I'm sure you have played pool before, or you've seen people playing pool before. That's how popular it is. Everywhere you go, I think it's in every province right now. And as Zambia POO Union, we are trying our best also to try and make the sport professional, because I think it is played a lot on a social basis. Yeah, but we are now trying to actually make that professional, and trying to see how best we can help our players make a living out of the sport.
Most times people associate pool with drinking places. Do you think that is right?
No. Of course, in the past it has been the situation. Yeah, but right now, like I said, Zambia POO Union is actually working tirelessly to make the sport professional, and I'm proud to say that we've made headway in the past, and as you may be aware, the Africa Cup before of pool in 2013, and we've come out runners-up in 2017 as well. So that actually shows you that we've made a lot of progress, and we're still working.
Let's talk about, maybe just to follow up on that,
yeah,
and the question, the positioning of these pool tables,
yeah,
in that sense, where you find them mostly in bars. And is there anything that you're pushing as an organization to just, put them somewhere?
A lot actually, we are doing, and I can actually assure you right now that very few of our professional venues are actually in bars. Okay, and in pool, just like any other sport, we do not allow alcohol being taken by our players. Okay, we actually have a lot of venues. We have some venues that I can mention in town. We have Billiards Cafe, we have Flintstones, we have Spice. We have quite a number of venues, including Finale and so on and so forth, where you can actually comfortably go with your kids, with your children on a weekend, and enjoy a game of pool. Yeah, so in addition to that, we've actually established an academy with the help of our partners, Billiards Cafe at Southgate Mall. We've established an academy where school-going children are actually finding time to go there and learn a thing or two about pool.
So what are some of the challenges that the sports discipline is facing in Zambia?
Challenges, I think when we talk about challenges, the number one thing is funding, is finances. Yeah, I think because of the status that pool has been given as a minor sport, it has been difficult for us to access sponsorship, both from the government as well as from corporate entities. Of course, we have our very own entities like MOOBWE and a few other individuals here and there, and a few companies that have been close to pool that have been supporting us in the past, and we're very proud to actually be associated with these.
Then when it comes to women participation, are women willing to participate in the sport?
Yeah, that is a big thing. That is a big thing. And with the Africa Cup coming up, by the way, we'll be hosting the Africa Cup in 2022 March. Yeah, so with Africa coming up, I think it's a challenge for us to come up with a national team for ladies, considering that we haven't had that much participation from our lady folk. But of course, we've had a lot of assistance from our brothers in the Madala Social League. They have a lot of women coming on board in that league, and we've been working with them. And because of that, we've come up with tournaments which are fully funded, fully sponsored by some of the people that I just mentioned. Yeah, and so these events will be held twice a month on a Sunday. Yeah, so the next event will be coming up this coming Sunday. Is it the 12th? Yeah. Yeah, so participation is free, so it's open for every lady, everyone who wants to participate, everyone who feels they can contribute something to pool as a lady. It's open to them.
Well, thank you so much, Tesfa, for joining me today. And viewers, you've heard it. Let's make sure we participate in this weekend's tournament. It's free of charge. You've heard it for yourselves. Alex, I hand over to you.
All right, that was quite insightful, Mr. Sinkombwe. We hope the discipline really grows in Zambia, and much interest of portrayed by the women, especially because it's more sidelined to the male folk, which is actually not supposed to be the case. So we hope some strides are getting to be involved there and there. I don't know how much support you get from the government.
We haven't been getting support from government at all. Yeah, so we hope, of course, that with the new dawn government, things will change.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Blessings. Thank you so much, Mr. Sinkombwe. So that was Mr. Sinkombwe Taster from Pool Union of Zambia, who's the General Secretary. And on this desk, we had actually our own reporter, Blessings Chakwila, who helped us discuss the pool discipline that is a sport. So now we'll just get on a short break, and when we come back, we'll take a look on the money market. Stay tuned.
Camnet TV is here to entertain, educate, and inform you. Catch Rise and Thrive at 0730 hours every Saturday. Fresh and new praise and worship comes Monday to Friday at 8 hours. Kids need to be glued to the TV every weekday at 09 hours for their favorite cartoons. Off the pitch with the boys as they talk about sport on Saturdays at 0930 hours.
Remember, we are also here to entertain you with our different varieties of movies every weekday at 10 hours. Join Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluba with Healing Word Ministries International Church live sermon every Sunday at 10 hours.
Katamanda brings to you another journey of gospel ministers on Saturdays at 10:30 hours. The verdict comes to your screens at 17:45 hours. Join the Revival Harvest Church every Sunday at 18:30 hours.
Every Monday to Saturday, join us on the news desk at 12 hours as we bring to you the midday news, and at 19:30 hours Central African time every day for the main bulletin.
The ministry with Pastor Moses Chilua comes every Friday at 20:45 hours. On Mondays, it's your favorite national matters at 20:45 hours.
Wednesday and Thursday, Pastor Victoria and Moses Chiluba are on Partnership of Greatness with different spiritual teachings at 20:45 hours.
And Frank on Camnet comes to your screen every Tuesday at 20:45 hours.
Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Great. Welcome back to our breakfast show. Now, just before we start our day, we just thought of discussing the money market, because you know you never get out without knowing your pocket. Yeah, so money market for today, that is of the close of Monday, it was like euros buying at 19.94 ngwe and selling at 20 kwacha 0.33 ngwe. The Great Britain pound was at 23 kwacha 38 ngwe and selling at 23.84 ngwe. The rand, that is South African rand, was at 1 kwacha 0.10 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 0.12 ngwe. The United States dollars was buying at 17.67 ngwe and selling at 18.01 ngwe. So that is for today about the money market. But before we just cruise into something, Zipporah, what do you take over the market for today?
Okay, I think we have seen the kwacha fluctuating ever since I can say around August, during the time that we had after elections. We saw first it's appreciated, then again said depreciating. So it has been going back and forth. And so I remember recently I had a chat with the economist, Mr. Yusuf Doja. And so this was his take. Basically, he said there is need for government to come up with a policy which will compel foreign investors to bring foreign currency into the country, which is equivalent to their exports, in order to stabilize the kwacha. So you're saying once they export, they have to bring the equivalent of the exports in kwacha back into the country. They invest it within the local economy. So you're saying many times there is no policy which compels them to bring that money back. So they take huge amounts of money back, they export and take huge amounts of money back. So it means the stability of the kwacha depends on how much money they decide to inject back into the economy. So I think there is need for the new government to take up such measures. So he was saying countries such as South Africa have actually put up such measures to ensure that their currency is not disturbed, their currency is not determined by outside forces, so that it's stable throughout. So I think maybe these are some of the things that Zambia has to consider to make sure that the kwacha is stabilized. All right.
That's quite insightful. So yesterday on our bulletin, there was quite some stories that made headlines. And we'll just read one of them, which was compiled by Prudence Chota. And that has to do with the farmers, actually. Farmers in the country complaining over unfair trade policies, talking of policies in the trade sector. So they are complaining like it has been destroying local market for locally produced agriculture commodities. Yeah. So the Zambia National Farmers Union President Jervis Zimba, who represented other farmers at a meeting held with the Minister of Commerce yesterday, that is Mr. Chipoka Mulenga, he said there is need to regulate the import of anything that is locally grown. And I'm sure we've had a lot of sectors, other sectors. The last time it was these people who make the blocks, like block makers, also complaining about the same arrangement where they've been, more of foreign companies doing the most compared to our local people. So I think this is something that the government should actually look into. But before we get any further, let's just take a look at the story that we're referring to.
While trade agreements are important for any economy, the agreement should not come at the expense of the growth of any country. This, however, has been the case with Zambia, where some trade protocols are now interfering with the agriculture sector. At a meeting held between farmers under the Zambia National Farmers Union and the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, ZNFU President Jervis Zimba has complained that most agriculture imports coming into the country have been interfering with the local market. Yet Ministry of Agriculture argues that the imports are due to trade agreements.
The Minister of Agriculture and the Minister of Livestock have already said that we are bringing in because of trade protocols. So what we have done as a union was to get back to brief the Minister to highlight the challenges the farmers have been facing in terms of imports which have been coming into the country. We have gone through a lot of commodities issues regarding the wheat, the beef, the poultry issues, and generally what we can produce as a country.
Mr. Zimba adds that there is need to regulate the imports of commodities that are locally grown.
Generally, what we are presenting to you, what we presented today, is that we should stop or we should regulate imports of anything that we can grow in this country, so that at least the Minister of Agriculture and the Minister of Livestock will not anymore accused to say this is a trade matter, but we have now taken to trade experts so that we'll be able to help engage them to understand that we need to put in more bolts and nuts in terms of what we can produce in the country.
In response, the Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, Chipo Kamulenga, says any bilateral agreement that do not benefit the Zambian people are not worth signing.
You mentioned serious points of being affected negatively by trade protocols that we have signed in. Our government is focused to say that any bilateral agreement, if it does not benefit the Zambian people, it is not worth going into. In an event that we've already signed those bilateral agreements, this government is very committed under my ministry with the leadership of the President to re-engage.
He has since promised to engage Minister of Agriculture and Minister of Livestock to see how best farmers can be supported.
Not be used as a conduit to the gains of other countries. While they gain revenue, we destroy our infrastructure, which we are meant to repair, while we see our agricultural sector continues to diminish. I will engage the line ministers, the Minister of Agriculture, and also my counterpart from the Ministry of Livestock to see how best we can support you.
Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
There you have it. So it's just complaints from local farmers and those who are producing different commodities locally, complaining that there's been a lot of foreign companies and competition is not, favorable for them. Yeah, Zipporah, really, like we mentioned earlier, it's not just in the farming industry, but we see these stories coming up from other sectors as well. Now, how do we strike a balance really in terms of international companies compared to the local companies in your own analysis?
Well, I've heard many contributions from stakeholders. Some also feel that this is a liberal market, so we can't really say we ban. But they're saying we have to actually encourage competition. Of course, maybe you can put up a certain percentage, but you can't really, maybe a 50-50. Percentage so that they can compete fairly with international products. That's some contributions from stakeholders, because they're saying this is a liberal market, and we've also seen instances in the past where Zambians have actually failed to meet the target. For example, you saw last year where they banned onions, tomatoes, and all that. So again, they're talking about the quality. The quality has to compete.
The capacity of the local people.
Yes, so the quality also has to compete. They have to make sure that they're able to compete with international standards. If you just keep them locally, they're just competing amongst themselves. They don't have that push. So I don't know, but basically, of course, we have to make sure that there's a conducive environment for our people. But again, I think we shouldn't completely do away with that international competition so that we can enhance our standards, in my own opinion.
Oh yeah. Today we talk about something very that is affecting us, all of us, not just Zambia, but global community as well. That is the negative impact of climate change. Now we narrow it down to local, small-scale farmers, and really there was I can call it a warning from government. That was the Minister of Green Economy and Environment. Earlier projected dry spells to persist and affect most parts of the Zambia in the next 10 days. That was the prediction. And it can be just noticed from how the weather is. I mean, this is November, but we still feel like it's October. Like, how do you make of that, really? It's really hot. I don't know for you, but for me, I'm finding it hard to just, go for the whole day without removing this jacket. And this jacket is just becoming a bit of for the show. Immediately I get out of the show, I move it.
It's really, really hot.
Yeah,
it's actually really hot.
As if it's November, because if I remember well, I haven't lived for the longest period of time, but I've had an ample share of my own experiences where I could have rainfall by the end of October, somewhere 29, 30. Come November, early November, the rains are starting at least a bit of falling. So what is this we're experiencing really, and how did we reach here?
Look, I think I've noticed fluctuations. I remember in 2019 we had a dry spell. We saw crops dying. That was the time we heard that people in southern province were eating roots, mangoes, and all that. I'm sure I remember that period. There was a lot of hunger in 2019. Then again, the 2020-2021 rain season now was filled with floods. So it's more like there's been this fluctuation. You don't really know what to expect. You don't really have like maybe a stable rainfall pattern. You find this year droughts, this year floods, and again here we're experiencing some dry spells. So I think it's something that we really have to look at seriously. And just to our viewers out there, please remember that the phone lines are now open. You can drop your contributions on how we can do as a country to fight climate change. And do you think we're doing enough as a country currently to fight climate change?
The minister, that is the Minister of Green Economy, actually advised farmers not to plant any crop except cassava until there is adequate moisture, as well as apply bozo dressing fertilizers at planting time. And you know, there have been really this concern from the general public. How do we survive next year? You know, these have been the questions going around. Since we are not having the rainfall and we have the seeds ready, we have the fertilizers ready, but we can't just plant because they seem not to be rainfall, you know. So how much impact? You were just talking of MOOBWE being one of the areas that are affected by this same drought. And you may remember, I don't know if it's MOOBWE, but Central Province generally doesn't accommodate some of the plants that they've actually advised, like cassava in MOOBWE. The soil is not really conducive for that. So what happens for such places where you can't actually plant, you know, drought favorable crops? What do you make of that?
Yeah, and then concerning the issue of crop diversification, I've been hearing many farming organizations saying people in Zambia have been farming maize for a long time. People know how to plant maize, they know the fertilizers to apply, but then they're saying if you just say go and diversify, plant cassava, farmers do not have that knowledge. So they're saying if we're to actualize diversification, there needs to be capacity building of people in these other crops for us to actually make it a reality.
Even the soil, some soil,
even the soils are not conducive.
Allow, some.
So I need to assess this area, this kind of crop can grow, this area, and all that. So I think basically that's how.
Anyway, some questions will be answered by, you know, the executive director for SAFADA, was Mr. Boyd MOOBWE. We'll be having him shortly, just to help us really have a bit of knowledge about what's going on the ground. Because you know we are a community desk and we're really concerned about what's going on in our communities. Hence the need for you to just call in and contribute, make your suggestions. How do we really deal with this climate change effects, negative effects that is. So he went into for the agro-meteorological bulletin release, that was the very day the Zambia Meteorological Department, under the Minister of Green Economy and the Environment, surveillance of pests and diseases outbreak, especially the fall of armyworms. So this is a prediction. So we get to have no rains, but they've also added to the fact that we might expect a lot of pests. So it's really alarming. Yeah, you know,
our food security.
Yeah. Also, the bulletin indicated that the rain season has not yet set over much of the eastern half of Zambia, and farmers have been advised actually to consider planting early to medium maturing varieties. So these are in terms of seeds and everything, those which can actually mature. They went on to say the poor rainfall conditions are attributed to an atmospheric wind circulation pattern over Zambia and the sub-region, which is suppressed which is suppressing cloud development and rainfall activities, resulting into mostly clear skies with high temperature over the country. It's the high temperature we're experiencing. And I'm sure there are a lot of, you know, posts on social media to just take, you know, having jokes about the condition. How are you handling the temperature really for you? For me, it has been out of proportion.
Yeah, I think it's really unbearable, and I'm just worried about those farmers who planted early. And you know, there's been a contrast. If you remember earlier this year, this rain season, we experienced floods. If you remember, well, we saw some heavy rainfall, we saw some billboards getting damaged, and people were like, okay, this is going to be a good rain season, and then suddenly we see this drought. So really, I think this kind of rainfall is going to really impact farmers negatively. For example, I remember there was been a story from Ngwere area here in Lusaka, where at that time rainfall actually damaged about 8 hectares of land.
Wow.
So they had planted maize, vegetables, and all kinds of other crops, and you find that all their vegetables, so they're saying their vegetables are valued at 500,000 kwacha. That's maize and everything else. Everything was damaged by the rain. So maybe I think we need, farmers actually need to have the weather forecast. They need to familiarize themselves with the weather forecast before they can plant, because you find that maybe the time that they're planting, we have floods. The time and all that, we just have this fluctuating weather pattern. So I think farmers shouldn't just plant blindly, thinking of the old rain season which used to have, saying no, Kudara, it was like this. So they should know that this time things have changed, climate change. They should familiarize themselves with the weather forecast so they can avoid damage to their crops.
Yeah, I'm sure there are even applications that have been developed on a technological aspect, where they're developing applications that can specifically predict.
Yes, so technology can help us in this case.
In what range of or the period that you can plant a particular seed, and so it will predict for you. You know, it will detect the condition and also the temperature, and they analyze for you what you need to do. And I'm sure it requires a bit of training for them to actually get a bit of understanding in these changes, because it has caught them mostly unaware. Like they've been, like you said, they've been just referring to history and experience, where you just say, no, since last year and other years it has been like November we start planting, November we do this, but now things are changing. So you may have, like you say, you may have the floods or the drought. We don't know which. Now we are experiencing the possible drought, but again, maybe in a few weeks we'll be having a bit of more rainfall. So we don't know really. So I think there's need for knowledge.
Yes, there's need for sensitization.
Yeah. So it's really important. So the phones are open. Actually, you can add your voice to just explore how best we can deal with this climate change. You know, there've been actually calls for a bit of measures that we can practice as a citizen, so that we avoid. Some of them you alluded to in terms of charcoal burning, and also others that may be on board. Maybe just for the sake of information, really, what other practices have you noted from the government and also from other organizations that people should now practice in terms of just curbing climate change?
Okay, so basically I think there is need for people to actually stop some of these traditional practices, such as shifting cultivation, chitemene system, and all that. So these people find that at the time that they're doing this practice, they actually cut trees and all that. So I think there's need for government to relook and maybe sensitize, because most of these people are ignorant, especially in these areas where this is practiced. Like for example in villages, they need to sensitize them, saying what you're doing, these are the effects of this practice that you're doing, and maybe better still, they have to provide them with other options.
Oh, yeah.
Teaching them better farming methods so that people can stop this, because I'm sure they've seen the benefits. For them, they just know about the benefits of what they're doing, the benefits for their crops. If we plant here, our crops will grow. They do not know what is happening to them. They don't even know about the ozone layer. They don't know. They just know, okay, this year is not raining, this year, and so I think there's need for enhanced and just a multi-sectoral approach from all stakeholders, even as the media as well, sensitize people on the dangerous effects. Because I remember, according to the forestry department, you have about 250,000 hectares of forests that are depleted per year. So you can just imagine that.
It's a lot of damage.
Yes, due to charcoal burning. And most of these people in villages, that is the major economic activity. Their major economic activity is charcoal burning. You find that even children as early as young as 5 years are being taught charcoal burning, because the time I visited, that was in Sesheke. You find that children as young as 5 years old, they actually have their own mounds where they actually burn charcoal, so they're training them up. So meaning that they're training them to be future charcoal burners. And you find that we're actually destroying our own country in terms of this. It's now good that we have even the political will from the side of the president himself when he attended the COP26 in Europe, where he actually mentioned that Zambia will embark on the process of just getting out of such practices like charcoal burning and also other vices that are actually affecting the climate. So we get to see that there would be maybe a lot of activities going on, and also sensitization as we go forward, because there is need to actually sensitize our people. But also coming to the fact that these are economical avenues that people actually get into, and when you get away with the charcoal burning, you should have a replacement of what to give them, you know. So that has been a bit of a challenge, striking a balance between the livelihood of the people and also what the global community is calling for in terms of just curbing climate change. How do we then have the people survive without what they've always known, which are these practices? Maybe we can just explore that a bit before we add MOOBWE. So how are the economical avenues, others that they can have embark on? Yeah, so I think maybe basically the issue is tackling poverty. The main issue is to tackle poverty, because poverty is the main driver of, in my opinion, I think we have to first enhance efforts towards combating poverty. Because if these people have access to other economic activities in the villages there, because now this again borders on making villages economic hubs as well. You bring other facilities there where people can have many economic activities rather than just bringing development to the urban areas. So you can have various economic activities in these villages where people can actually venture into, rather than this issue of charcoal burning and all that. So I think the New Dawn government actually is going to explore some of those options that exist to fight climate change. Like you said, it's multi-sectoral, because we have a DMMU on board in case, for God forbid, we have this drought prolonging. So we may have a situation where our people actually by next year or cry foul in terms of food security, the shortage of certain commodities on the market, and so on and so forth. So I think there should be that preparation from the government aspect, where they just prepare. So what the question is, what is your experience there as a farmer and also as a citizen? So the phone lines are open wherever you are catching us from. It could be on our socials, that is our Facebook page, Camnet TV. You can comment on the comment section. What has been your experiences so far in terms of climate change? And if you are a farmer, really, how has this possible drought affected your planting and also the farming season, and how do you intend to actually deal with it? So the phone lines are open. You can be able to come through on board and share your contribution. Yeah, we'll be joined shortly by Mr. Boyd MOOBWE, who we have talked about a number of times. But there's a story really going to the opposite, instead of the drought, now to the floods that you mentioned earlier, about the farmers being affected by the rainfall that we recently had, which brought about damage to their crops. Yeah, to their crops. What was there really in this story? I'm sure you did the story there. Yeah, so basically that was in Guerrero. A number of farmers were affected. So the rainfall, they're saying the rain was falling with stones. You know, that's kind of rainfall. Yeah. And it actually it's more like smashed their crops. So the crops are just laid flat and all that. So there was a lot of damage there. So we have, it's more like a double-edged sword. Due to climate change, it's a double-edged sword. You have floods, they destroy your crops. You have a drought, your crops dry up. So it's really a double-edged sword, and it's really something that has to be looked at seriously. We need to find ways of making sure that this issue of climate change is fought with the seriousness it deserves, so that we can stabilize our rainfall patterns in here. Because if we're experiencing this now, just imagine in the next 60 years what is going to happen to our country. Are we going to have any future of farming here in our country? Are we going to now totally be import dependent on other countries? So that's something that we really have to look on.
Yeah, so there's a story that we're referring to. We'll just get to look at it as we get to the other side of the interview. So take a look, and you can add a voice after this clip about the farmers complaining about the rainfall. Stay tuned.
These are farmers from Lusaka's Ngwerere area who have been forced to prematurely harvest their crops after they were destroyed by the heavy downpour of rain the country experienced on Wednesday. Various farm products such as maize, tomatoes, cabbage and other vegetables, all valued at about 500,000 kwacha, have been left destroyed. Group representative Mr. Munyashula has narrated the incident.
My fellow farmers here, we are crying. We have lost almost everything that we had. We had put in all our efforts, our savings in this farm. As you can see, we've got multiple crops here. There's maize, there's cabbage, you know, these ordinary vegetables. Yeah, if we can't even, if we were to estimate, it is close to 500,000 that has been just wasted just like this. So it's a big blow to us farmers. So like for the maize you have seen is completely damaged. You can't rejuvenate. We just need to start afresh. Yeah, we just need to start afresh. We just need to slash them and start afresh.
Other farmers have also highlighted their plight.
So there's suppose kulipira wenangu pateni manje bakuja bameti na kugudisa kuti peleke ta baonongeka. So dipemba tandizo kuboma mwameni wangatandizile. Tidira elo bameti maivi ni malentos. Tilipira.
We have just sowed prematurely because of the damage which has been caused by the rain. The rain came with the ice blocks, which damaged our cabbages. So we just sold at a low price so that we can just get a little from it. So it's just a drop. It's just like a drop in a ocean. It's nothing we are getting. So we are just appealing to our government, New Tony government. It's a listening government which can help us to boost them so that we can start again.
They say the only hope for them now is aid from well-wishers, as the only option they have is to start afresh, but lack capital to do the same. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
There you have it, a story on the impact of climate change that has to do with the flood. But now we're talking about something that is totally the opposite, and that the possible droughts that we're experiencing, and how much impact has it caused on the local small-scale farmers. So we'll explore that, obviously, with the help of the person who's on the ground, and that is Mr. MOOBWE, who's SAFADA Executive Director. Good morning, sir, and welcome to our breakfast show.
Good morning.
Yes.
Good morning, viewers.
Good morning.
Okay, so before we just dive into it, allow me to divert a little bit. You know, recently the president actually encouraged the general public to rate him from 1 to 10, or in the first 100 days. As a director for SAFADA, would you have this moment to just rate the president how he has performed in the first 100 days? I won't ask why, just the number.
You want to engage me to politics? Well, actually, our president have really tried.
Okay.
Yeah, there are some development or changes that we have seen.
Okay.
Probably we can cite one situation where most of the people are happy. You know, the issue of cadres.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like
okay,
I said,
we have
I just
a call.
want.
We have a call.
Okay, just hold on. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay. We seem to have lost that one.
All right, so I would want just a number, 1 up to 10.
The activities, or rather,
just a figure. Look, okay, the president has performed maybe at 8, at 10, or at 0, or at 1, without a reason.
Okay, I think I can peg it at 3.
3 out of 10.
Yes.
I won't ask why. Okay, we get to what we're discussing today.
Agriculture.
Yeah, which is actually on the issue that you are spearheading on the forefront, on the ground, and that is the small-scale farmers. And we've seen quite a concerning situation in terms of the rainfall, the late coming of the rainfall, and the possible impact of that. Generally, before you get to that, explain your organization and what you do, and implementation of programs that you're implementing currently, so that people can get to know you.
Okay, probably I'll start with trying to explain about the organization. Yeah, SAFADA in abbreviation, Small Scale Farmers Development Agency, is a farmer-based organization which is established to contribute towards addressing the social and economic challenges facing small-scale farmers. When we talk of social challenges, there are a lot of issues we are looking at. Probably for argument's sake, we talk of how farmers are organized. You know, we talk of cooperatives, how effective or ineffective they are, and also, okay, in general, the social aspect.
Just on your thought, Mr. MOOBWE, we get a call. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning. You're through to Camnet Breakfast Show. What's your contribution and where are you calling us from? We lose that call. Please, when you call, just reduce your volume from your television cassette, and then you'll be able to get us through. So your thought on your organization?
Yeah, basically we are set to supplement government efforts in assisting small-scale farmers. You know, our farmers lack a lot of things. Yeah, especially in terms of information. I heard you talking about information, yeah, resources, access to resources, and services. Yeah, when you talk of services, we are mostly talking about extension service, how farmers are being assisted technically to ensure that their farming activities flourish well. Yeah, so we happen to work in collaboration with the private sector and also the government under our deliberate introduced platform, or rather program. We call it Fourth Sector Coordination and Collaboration Network. Yeah, so this is where we expect the government, the private sector, the farmers, and the donor community to actually bring whatever is required for the farmers on the table. Yeah, we have international and local partners. I'm happy to mention that, and all these, especially the international partners, they are very active and they want to see how best they can assist.
We have a caller. Just hold on to that, Mr. MOOBWE. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, you are through to Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Good morning, and what's your name and where are you calling us from?
Okay, good morning, this is Emmanuel.
Come again?
I'm calling from the Luansha.
Okay, Luansha. You can go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, my contribution is something to register my measure with the methodological patient. You know, the doctor discussed really focusing on the methodological patient. Because it has been our cause, I've never had a significant impact on the vaccine. Like the very badly, if I'm not correct, in October, and the affair rate expect us to follow them. And even what is there, they don't have a choice.
Okay.
For me, you can get a first level, but to find out where they are. It is the machines or the things that are affected that they cannot really the things that is on the ground.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's what
Noted. Noted. Thank you so much for that contribution. So it's about
He's saying they're not
are they
accurate?
Yeah, it's about accuracy, really. Because when you tamper with the figures, obviously you tamper with the decision being made by these farmers. But we'll get to that after just your conclusion on your briefing on your organization.
Yeah, just to summarize, I've mentioned that we have partners, local and international partners, who are actually interested to help the Zambian farmers. Well, it's surprising that it's like the international partners that we have, they're more active than the local partners. I don't know, I'm asking myself a lot of questions on that. Yeah, we have got partners like Organic Farm International, based in Czech Republic, and we have Aridalano from US. You know, the US-based companies trying to see how best they can help Zambian farmers to mitigate the climate change and its effect in agriculture. So the products that are being introduced, are proposed to be introduced in this country. We talk about solar farm containers, yeah, where farmers can grow their crops within a confined area, which will help them to reduce the demand for water, you know, the usage of water, and also chemicals. So it's a climate-oriented approach, you know, trying to see how farmers can adapt some of these technologies. Yeah. Besides that, the Czech people also are providing some kind of help to see how best the farmers can access cheap fertilizer. Yeah, you know, our fertilizer is escalating yearly every month. As I'm talking now, you're talking about 900, between 700 and 900. So how do you expect farmers to grow? How do you expect farmers to perform well? So basically, the small-scale farmers development agency is more like a bridge between the small-scale farmers and resource organization. So we also look at capacity building and the other necessities to ensure that our farmers perform better in agriculture.
Okay, so that's quite insightful. And just going into maybe the topic of today, you have seen there's a prediction that there will be a 10-day drought. And we had a contribution from a caller saying they feel like the meteorological department is not really being helpful, where they told farmers saying we'll have rainfall beginning October, and so we find that farmers planted. So maybe how do you think this is affecting farmers, and that's what is your take on this? How do you think maybe we can better improve our rainfall forecasts as a farming expert?
Well,
yes.
Well, I'm happy to be called a farming expert. You know, first and foremost, I want to mention that I want to say it's quite alarming, the current situation where we, up to now, this is the 7th December, we don't have rains. Previously, the past years, we used to have rains starting in October. Yeah, Independence, and after Independence, we have rains, and farmers will plant. Okay, and then they calculate, they do the calculation, and they know that, okay, if you plant in October, late October, within 7 days we are going to have rains, maybe the first week of November. So they didn't miss that, but now currently it's quite difficult for farmers to actually predict or make assumptions of how their farming activities will vary or perform because of this climate change. So we are a bit worried because if we won't have rains in the next 3 days, then we're in problems.
By problems, you mean what exactly?
Normally we look at the food security levels. Yeah, I think though the government is claiming to have enough for the country, yes, it is enough for maybe the next 6 months. 6 months, of course, but then later, if you want to have good production this year, good yield, meaning that after the 6 months elapsed for this previous stock we have, we are going to have a problem. And this is what I'm talking about. Not only at the national level, but we're also looking at a household level. You know, I'm sure you have gone down to the village, you have seen how farmers produce. We see bulk of grain at the FRS depots or in, whichever place, marketing place, because the small.
Okay, just hold your thought there, sir. You seem to have a call. Good morning.
Hello?
Good morning, I'm through to Camnet Community Breakfast Show.
Good morning, madam.
Yes, kindly tell us your names, where you're calling us from, and your contribution to the program.
Yes, my name is Reverend.
Okay.
I'm calling from Florida.
All right, what's your contribution,
Yes,
sir?
my complaint is about private check. Yeah, this road, the they have to advise people properly.
Okay.
Because they are not involved in God. They are doing things of their own. That is not the place they are supposed to be.
Okay.
If you read Isaiah chapter 55, verse 8 to 9, if you get an answer, the fire will police. So the religion will remove the place that Lord. Don't you know that and that was the headline in paper. Then you go to a yasta loka, it's raining as the football.
Alright.
So, I think it was not very majority of Mundu at your Jala to Jala.
Teshamuti barapimane nama machine.
Now, what's the meaning? My friend, you come from Mundu and range. Which you go to, but it's not you Friday after 10 days.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir, for your contribution.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, and so Alex, I remember you mentioned something interesting about technology. So maybe now with the incoming, we never had this ministry previously.
Yeah.
Maybe now we expect more innovations from them to show us maybe more accuracy in terms of the weather patterns. Because we've seen people complaining, they're saying we planted early, the rain didn't come. Some are saying, no, they're saying after 10 days, but here it's raining. So there's this confusion.
So actually in Dollar, it was raining. I think it goes back to the accuracy levels in terms of the meteorological department, where someone actually claimed these machines are not reading the correct figures. Would that be a situation, Mr.
Well,
how, as a farmer, how do you get to be guided?
Yes. Do you think they have a proper method?
Well, I think lacking some technology to improve their capacity to provide information to the general public or to the farmers. But on the contrary, allow me to say that sometimes their predictions are correct, and let's not misunderstand them. I think the government and the department itself have come out clearly to tell us that the areas that will be affected is Eastern Province, Southern Province, Lusaka, and probably part of Western Province. Now, the man who is talking about Ndora that there was heavy rainfall, Copper Belt. Yes, of course, this part of the country.
Okay, we have another call.
Yeah.
That's a good explanation. Let's just attend to this call. Good morning. Yes, you're through to Camnet Breakfast Show here on Community Desk. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
I'm calling from
Chilabombo. Okay. Give us your contribution, sir.
Okay, my contribution is over the maintenance.
Okay.
Yes. So this is it has been months now without anything.
Come again with that?
What?
On your statement, your previous statement, it has been what? Huh? Just repeat your statement.
Yeah.
You can go ahead.
Hello? Okay, I think I heard him that he was complaining about the late rain.
Okay.
He was saying I'm from Chile. One of my complaints is about the late rain. So basically,
so they haven't
concern.
experienced any.
They've been having a dry spell as well, I'm sure from his statement.
Oh,
so yeah, it's just basically the same complaint. So some parts of the country with a dry spell, some have got rain. So yeah, that was the statement. So Mr. MOOBWE, you can finish your earlier thought.
Yeah, what I was trying to say is sometimes let's understand our experts in this aspect. They are trying to create some awareness. Of course, like someone said, they are not gods. You know, the weather pattern is unpredictable. Yeah, but they're just trying to give us a foresight, or rather some kind of situation that they anticipate to see. You know, they're able to measure the winds, how the winds are blowing, and whatever activities are happening worldwide. We have heard about floods in China and other places. So that affects Africa as well, Zambia in particular. So I think for me and my organization, we appreciate their efforts to inform the general public what is going to happen. Of course, it's quite confusing because earlier on, the Meteorological Department mentioned to say that this year are going to have normal rains and above normal. That was somewhere in July, August.
I think I remember that as well, yes.
You see? Then later now they're telling us that there's this dry spell and whatever. Yeah, because it happens because of winds, and we are talking about climate change. Yeah, so I think we just need to work hand in hand with them and understand the advice. But my appeal is to our Ministry of Agriculture. We have technocrats, we have extension officers. These people are the people who are supposed to work closely with the farmers and tell them in advance to say, okay, fine, this year the rains will be like this. In fact, there must be proper linkage between the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Green
Economy.
Yes, they have to interact, they have to work together so that the information trickles down to the farmers through the Ministry of Agriculture. Yeah, but I don't see this happening. Okay, the relationship, I don't know how strong it is, but my point here is that the Ministry of Agriculture should work extra hard to ensure that farmers have the right information at the right time on their tables, close to them, so that they're able to venture into agriculture. Because in the near future, I tell you, with this kind of calamities, the drought spell we are experiencing, the flood, in the near future we are going to have no rains the whole season. Maybe do just for once, you see, and then it will affect the nation. You see. So that's why we've got people educated who are qualified. They have to plan for the country in advance. What if this happens? What should we do in terms of agriculture, drought? So the Ministry of Agriculture should have at least a well-packaged approach which will ensure that the agriculture does not fail in the next 10 years, because they have already put in place what the strategies that should be used to address some situations like drought spell. You see, it's not wise enough to react once we have a problem. Yeah.
But you prepare in advance.
We prepare in advance, yes. You know, involving the DMU. Yes, holding them by their neck to say, no, there's this happening, what and that. I think that is some kind of premature planning. So we need to really get together.
Okay, now let's talk to that one particular farmer. Maybe they must have planted earlier, you know, before.
Due to the advice that was given.
Yes, they plant, and now you are interacting with these people, I'm sure. How are they coming out? How are their reactions on the ground? Well,
most of the farmers are really complaining, especially those who planted when we had our first rains. Should be early November. Yeah, you know, this is December, and the talk of early November. The plant should have maybe 5-6 leaves to have been grown, but because of this climate change, after planting, there's this stress spell. Their crops have have withered, and they're complaining so badly because.
And it could be the only seed
yes,
they had.
That's the point I wanted to mention. Talk about, you know, our farmers have got limited cash. Access to finance. So once he buys the inputs, the fertilizer, the seeds, and the rain comes, he plants, he's confident that he's going to get something because he has planted early. But unfortunately, this drought spell, and then the crops are affected. That means that farmer is doomed. So it requires some kind of support from government. You know, that's why sometimes we normally ask the government, the Ministry of Agriculture in particular, to have a supplementary budget where they can respond to such issues. You know, you have talked about the Ngwelele farmers.
Yes.
I've been calling them to find out if they're being assisted. But surprising enough,
they have not been assisted.
You see, not even government, not even the private sector, but we see on TV issues and cases where DMU has gone to assist some farmers who have been who have faced this damage by by rains. You see, but what about other communities? Why are they so selective? I think that's an issue which needs to be addressed. There must be fair play and fair attention to all the farmers in this country. But all in all, what we can say, you know, this is a tragedy to farmers who planted their crops, especially in places like Rundazi, Petauke. There are farmers who have been calling to say, I said, Nashanga, you see? Even here in Central Province, there are farmers who have
many people planted.
Yeah, who have planted, but now this drought, I think it has really affected them. I don't know how they are going to start.
Mr. MOOBWE, we're talking about food security. I'm sure this is we're talking about food security. It borders on our well-being as a nation. So there's a thin line between a hunger situation. And so maybe best, I've seen one thing which is persistent from all the causes. Of course, we're saying the helpers have a forecast, but even in the past, we've seen many complaints. But then do you think maybe they need to enhance the operations, maybe improving on technologies? Because we find that there are predictions, like what I'm saying right now, have caused farmers to plant early, and then we've seen this, which has changed. So maybe do you think there is maybe need to improve the way they do their forecasts?
Yeah,
because we're talking about food security here.
Yes, I think I've mentioned that, that they have to improve on the technological aspect, how the equipments that they use.
Yes.
Yeah, and also the farmers should take up, change their mindset and attitude towards farming. They should be able to learn from the past. You see, we should not just complain to say, no, these people didn't tell us on time. But you know, before this technology came into play, the farmers were able to determine, to predict that this year we're going to have rains, this year we're going to have hunger, you know, based on natural vegetation. I would say, like masuku, if you have got a lot of masuku that year, people say, no, Zankaranjala this year, because of masuku, too much masuku.
Well, that's a connection?
Yeah,
because of masuku.
Yeah.
But do you think that is sustainable in terms of prediction?
It's not sustainable, but it was helping.
It was helping.
It was helping compared to the new technology. You know, they are predicting.
So is it that masuku grow in dry season? Is it?
Normally, okay, the masuku does well when it's dry.
Okay.
Yes,
right.
Yeah, there's that kind of good performance, and the production is high. So, you know, people are able to determine the future of the next farming season. Yeah, because they're able to detect what this and that based on the variables which are around them. So the meteorological department should just improve their performance, and if possible, try to find better machines that will detect the weather pattern and tell the people exactly what is going to happen. But it's not dependable, because even the European countries, they would predict to say, okay, there will be this strong wind coming from that direction to come and you know, affect the community. But if they have said this 2 days from now, you'll find that it has happened the day before the actual day that I've mentioned. So it's, the weather pattern is unpredictable.
Okay, we seem to have a call there. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, you're through to the Camnet Community Breakfast Show. What is your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Soboyes.
Okay, what's your contribution, sir?
Okay. You know, the rains, they have to do with God.
Okay.
Yes, we have the technology to measure the wind, the flow of air, and the clouds. But at the end of the day, the rain has to do with God. And we plant by faith, not because of what the theological have said. We go to farm by faith. That when we plant, it shall yield. And if we don't pray, ladies and gentlemen, you know, God will punish us.
And
so whatever we do, whether farmers, engineers, or whoever is seated, even you in the studio there, let us put God first. Even when you are coming for work, I know you pray, so that God can give you a safe trip to arrive at your studios. That's exactly what we are saying in this season of farming. We seek God first. So that when we plant, our duty is to plant. The rest is God.
Okay.
No wonder a seed dies in the soil before it germinates. That is the work of God.
And so, sir, I'll pose the question back to you. There have been many stakeholders calling for a prayer and fasting day for the rain. Do you think that's the way to go?
No.
What's your contribution then?
Go to your bedroom, in the inner room, and pray to God.
You're not for the day of fasting as a nation?
Yeah, it's a collective.
We have seen in the Bible where some nations came together and prayed as a group. And,
Go to your bedroom, your inner room, and pray, and God shall grant what you want.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir, for your contribution.
It's interesting, Zipporah. There seems to be a mixture of science and religion, you know?
Yes.
And
so which one should win in the end?
We are stuck, like on the middle. We don't know what to do. Because if I go in my bedroom and pray, obviously I ask God to, you know, ask God for rainfall. But that rainfall should benefit the whole country. So he's saying, no, you go in.
And pray alone there.
But anyway, to just get back to our topic, in terms of, you said food security, like she mentioned, but also we are looking at the businesses. Yes, the country can have could have recorded a bumper harvest, you know, last farming season, which can actually secure us for the next maybe 12 months. Yeah, but again, it comes back to the business. These are businesses of the people. How much impact has this gotten to the people, prospect businesses?
Yeah, in terms of farmers, I don't know if I've got your question correctly. Yeah. Whatever we do in life is all about business. You know, we are trying to accumulate some profits or cash to sustain ourselves. We are trying to accumulate a grain or food to sustain ourselves. So it's all about business, but it's a question of how do you do your business, because you don't have to step on someone's foot, and you must ensure that what you produce is of quality and good quantity. Yeah, so that you have that better transaction. Yeah, so that also requires some kind of capacity building, some kind of training, especially our farmers. They have to be trained how to do business, so that they are successfully operating as business-oriented farmers. Yeah, whatever they produce, they have to make sure that there is a good return at the end of the day, other than just to do production for the sake of doing production.
Great. And so, yeah, and but just maybe to add on that, on the aspect of that, in terms of response, really, is there a particular seed type that can be more like a falling back question, do you know,
drought resistant, in other words?
Yes. Do you have maybe, let's say, maize, a seed particular type as a farmer, which people would say, oh, since we have the possible drought, I'll just back on this?
Well, that also depends on the weather pattern.
Okay.
Yeah, the weather. Sometimes I've got to normal rains, and farmers will go for late maturing seed or medium mature seed. And the late maturing seed is just planted in case they want to have fresh maize quickly for consumption. But in terms of this nature, like this time where we are facing hard-on climate change effects, I think we would advise farmers to grow early maturing seed, and those are always found in the shops, the seed companies and agro dealers. If they ask, we want early maturing seed, they'll buy. But because of the performance of the early maturing seeds, some farmers are so reluctant to.
It doesn't perform well?
Well, it does perform well, but it's not actually commercialized kind of seed. No. Yeah, in terms of weight and also the quality. Yeah, so farmers prefer to plant medium variety or late maturing variety, because mostly the late maturing varieties, they are large grains, and the medium, they are quite sizable, and they produce enough. Even the weight is actually admirable. When they go to the market, you find that they only measure 1 tin and 2 gallons is a 50 kg. Compared to early maturing seed, because it's underweight. Yeah, I think you get my point.
I do.
Yeah, so I'm happy that the private sector is also, by all means, trying to, inform the farmers what exactly they should do before planting or after planting, based on their seed. They have got extension officers, and I really appreciate their efforts. But this should be done in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture. Yeah. Then allow me to get back to a point which the last caller I was talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. The way I understand, the way I understand things, God is God, of course, is the one who created us. I'm sorry, I should not mislead people, but I believe that God is science. And that's why, when God created the man, he had invested all the knowledge, all the authority, all the powers in man, our first man, okay? So what I'm trying to say is, we should not fold our hands to say, no, we cannot sort out this because it borders on God's powers. Yes, it borders on God's powers, and we have to relate ourselves to our God in terms of prayer. But we should put up efforts to see how best we address such issues.
So prayer with works.
Yeah, prayer and works. In fact,
we're now preaching, eh?
Yeah.
Yes, it's great because I think you mentioned saying science and God go hand in hand.
Yeah. Without science, that means it will be difficult to explain, about God's things. We're talking about climate change. Are you telling me that there was no drought before now? We are droughted in the times of Egypt. Yesterday I was just watching a TV where they were explaining about some kind of climate change a million years ago. You see, so this is not something which is surprising, but it's us to see how best we can address this situation so that we are not affected. Yeah. So I think my fellow Zambians should learn something from this aspect of prayer. We should pray and do the work accordingly, and we should not disregard the scientists. For those cattlemen, the headmen who are herding animals, the 3 wise men. I'm talking about the 3 wise men. For them to be able to detect what is being taught in the Bible for the birth of Jesus Christ. They studied the star. You see, that is science. Okay, so let's try to relate.
Okay, we have a caller. Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, you're through to the Camnet Community Breakfast Show.
Okay, this is Wanda.
Okay, calling us from?
Okay, I'm calling from Kumwenda.
Okay, okay. Your contribution, Mr. Kumwenda.
You know, my parents there said something very important that I need to agree with him.
Okay.
In the days of, you know, those old days of Egypt. Okay. You know, God, through the prophet Elijah, prophesied that there will be no rain for 3 years.
Okay.
And they almost killed Elijah. He began to run up and down when he prophesied that. Okay?
Yes.
Now, in our time, what measures can we put in case we don't receive rain in the next 6 months? I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
Okay? This is now when, you know, government resources should come on board. Okay? You know, when you go to some cover there, you see these big machines watering the farms.
Yes, irrigation.
These are the things that we are talking about. So let them provide this machinery now to water these farms. You know, we are going to have it during Manawasa. How do you think the management use the management machines to water farms? And that's what government should be doing now. That waiting for the rain that they are not seeing.
Okay.
Okay? Yes. But all in all, rains, we are dependent on God. No matter how much you pray, if you want to bring the rain in the next 6 months, if you are said, you are said, you won't change. Prayers won't change God. What he says is Daniel himself. Okay? So government should come in, provide the resources, and begin to water this farm. That's my contribution. Appreciating my brother when he talked about the 3 years the drought in Egypt.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution, sir. So we have a lot of divergent views on this topic.
Yeah, that just shows the picture of Zambia, really. Zambia is a Christian.
And people are really concerned, actually, with the concern. You remember we had milli meal increase. I think that was in 2019. We had milli meal prices shoot up to over 200 kwacha, if I'm
somewhere
correct.
170, 180.
It was, yeah, so the prices of milli meal were really high. So people actually, we need to find solutions to this. And earlier you were talking about irrigation. So maybe do you think this is something that can be done in the short term, or how do you think this can be done in terms of irrigation and all that?
Well, irrigation can be done at any time.
Do we have enough? Do we have maybe machinery for the whole country?
Machinery is available.
Okay.
The question is funds.
Okay. Yes.
Funding, yes. I remember at one time I was called to Parliament. The very nice discussion.
Okay, so you want to just don't lose the thought. Let's attend to the call. Good morning. Yes, good morning. You're trying to come in breakfast show.
Okay, yeah.
Your name and where are you calling us from?
This is calling from MOOBWE.
Okay, you can go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, my contribution is towards the rain.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the only thing we can do is to believe in God, trust in God, to pray. Our prayer can change, but God always He do things in the line of His way. But the solution was this time to play. We need just to seek God and play over the day. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So the people are saying just pray, but like I think since it's important to put things straight out there, because you can. So I think like Mr. MOOBWE was saying earlier, he was saying God has empowered us with knowledge. So it's more about maybe making sure that we have faith with works, isn't it? We have faith in God, but we're working towards achieving, so that you don't mislead people there, because some people feel that prayer may be enough, but God actually wants us to.
The question would be, what is the response from the people themselves? You know,
what are they doing about it?
Because we have been affected by this. Are they praying just, or what are they doing? So we would love to get from them your take on that. Are you a farmer, and what are you doing about this situation? We've had a few calls suggesting that we should go in prayer.
So the question is prayer alone enough?
Yeah, they'll tell us anyway as we discuss.
Yeah.
From the thought that you wanted to finish. Sir.
Yes.
We're talking about irrigation.
Irrigation, yes. Allow me first of all to mention here that you see, we have a problem in Zambia. We believe that just prayer, going to the mountains and pray, you know, screaming on top of our voices, God is going to respond. I tell you, He won't respond. If you remember those three people were given talents, one 15, the other one 10, the other one 5. The one who was given 5 sat back and said, no, because God is greater if I don't do this. Yeah, so equally, when we pray, let's come down from the mountains and do the work. Okay, let's not just fold our hands and expect God to do miracles. Well, time of miracles is long gone. I'm sorry to mention that. So we are given the powers to do the work, and we are going to be punished for being weak and not being active. Yeah. Then coming to the issue I was talking about, you know, I had an opportunity to have a discussion with the parliamentarians. It should be 5 years ago. I was invited to discuss the issue of irrigation. Yes. Yeah. So.
We have a call there again.
This point should be just stuck there.
Because we seem to be having. Hello. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Jim Camnet.
Yes, you're through to the Camnet Community Breakfast Show. What is your name and where are you calling us from?
This is Elvis calling from Kawata.
Okay, your contribution, Mr. Kelvin.
Elvis Mpapa.
Okay, Mr. Elvis, your contribution?
I just have a concern.
Okay.
Or rather a question. What has gone wrong for us Zambians to be shining away from prayers?
Okay.
Yes. What has gone wrong? Because, you know, even in the past, when you have a problem, they used to gather and pray against the problem. Yes. Now I want someone to respond what has gone wrong for us to be shining away from the meeting together and pray.
Okay, we will ask you concerning the topic. What are your views in terms of responding to the climate change in farming?
Sorry?
What are the responses that people should take in responding to the climate change, effect of climate change in the farming industry?
You know, Zambia is a very funny country. Whereby everything, you want to involve the government and forget about God.
Okay.
So the only thing that you have to do, as a Christian, the Zambian country, which is a Christian nation, we need to pray.
Okay. But sir, do you think praying alone is enough without us acting on it?
Sorry?
Do you think prayer alone is enough without people acting on it?
I can mention.
Do you think we should just pray for the rain and then we sit back and wait for the rain while doing nothing about it?
We can do something, but also the prayer should be the first thing.
What is that something?
The one like the first speaker was talking about the education of providing the big machines.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's a good idea as well. But as we are waiting for the government to do that, first let us pray as we are waiting for the response from the government.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much. That's quite profound. Yeah.
So I think we should be able to hear the voice of the church on this matter.
You know, I've learned
we need to get views from the church as well, because it seems there's this divergent, there are so many divergent views.
For sure. Zambia is a Christian nation. Like for sure. Now, on irrigation, after that, then you respond to the caller.
Yeah, what I was trying to say is I had an opportunity to discuss with the parliamentarians at that time. The issue was about irrigation. What do we do to ensure that farming is done throughout the year? How do we assist the farmers? So that question was raised to us as SAFADA. How best do you think we can assist you? You know, in terms of farming where probably we have drought spell like this one. Yeah, so I want to come out clear to say that you know, irrigation is not so easy to do because it requires a lot of you know, you have to consider a number of factors. Yeah, scientifically, probably I would say, I'm not a scientist, but according to information that I have, you know, some of these products, the disregarded, they are not regarded as good quality because of...
Okay, we have another call. Like Alex was saying, that thought seems to be stuck just there.
I'll remember the last statement, good quality. Good morning.
Can you speak up?
Okay.
Okay, we've lost that call.
Technical failure.
So in short, what I'm trying to say is, you know, when you talk of irrigation, there are a number of factors that you have to consider. It's not just about equipments and watering the crop. There are certain elements and factors that you have to consider to ensure that you have a nice production at irrigation level.
Okay.
Do we have that call?
Yeah, that call is... Good morning. Good morning.
Kindly speak up, you're very low.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. You're through to Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Your name and where are you calling us from?
Thank you very much. This is Reverend Manduri calling from Minnesota.
Oh, great. Your contribution?
I'm glad I'm going through today. Yesterday I kept on saying about this system of not able to speak me in the studio.
Oh, sorry for that. We apologize.
Thank you. Welcome. For starters, though I speak to your discussion, you know, MOOBWE, but you're discussing issues to do with what we can do as a people regarding the issue of climate. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, climate change.
Okay. I think it is common knowledge for all of us that I think was not done well. And particularly, I'll also attribute this to the leadership. I think that the successful, government have allowed, and I think in the last probably maybe 10, 15 years, it has even become worse, where we've seen, you know, the indiscriminate cutting of trees.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it is in public domain how Kula tree has been literally, you know, wiped out. You know, and then we already have this tradition of, you know, circle burning, you know, our people, some of them, it has been their livelihood for so many years. But I think what we haven't done well is to ensure that, you know, if we got to strike a balance between especially our local people, those that are in the rural areas that survive on charcoal burning and all that, there's some form of regulation where, you know, the trees are not indiscriminately cut, wherever it is. But also, the most important one, where we are replacing those trees, it should be a culture. It should be part of all of us. There should be deliberate measures or policies put in place where even those of us that are in the urban places should be able to ensure that, you know, we plant trees. Just look at even, you know, these residential plots. When people are planting residential plots, especially in these places where there were farms, say for example, these farms that were owned by NRDC and were indiscriminately given as residential plots by political cartels, these places had trees. You know, there are shrubs and everything. But when people, you know, bought them for residential plots, what we do, we clear everything. We clear trees, we clear shrubs, we clear literally everything. And we're forgetting that these are the things that also help the nature, help in terms of conserving, you know, the climate. So these are some of the issues that for me, the authorities, the government, should be able to deliberately put certain policies in place that will compel all of us, starting from the rural areas, the villages, right up to the cities here, to ensure that we are planting trees. Trees are maintained right from our home, you know, going into the bushes and the forest. And look at how we've allowed, you know, even places like Forest 27 and others. These are people that, you know, are legislators. We should even understand the need not to go into those areas to, you know, demarcate them for residential plots. We know that places like Forest 27 is also a recharge, an aquifer, you know, for our own water recharge. And yet we are being, you know, putting up, you know, residential plots and all that, and forgetting that these are the end results, what we are now experiencing. Because if we do it on our own as a country, you know, we'll be, of course, minimizing the levels of the challenges that we have now. I'm not generalizing it because it is happening all over the world. We should be able to domesticate these measures locally so that we are able to conserve, our environment as a nation. And so for me, that would be my contribution.
That's a good
apart from others have already said, and that's a great point, apart the fact that we need to seek the face of God, but we also have the duty and the responsibility from those that are in authority and as a citizen to cooperate and ensure that these measures are in place to ensure that we conserve, our environment. Thank you so very much.
We appreciate for that contribution. I think that's a good one, especially an aspect of violation of lands that are specifically meant for reserve of climate change and everything. Yeah, you talked about the Forest 27, other things that are designated for plots, housing and everything. I think there has been preaching of let's stop, but then we don't see, on practical terms, we don't see the reaction from our people. And I think that should be something that should be inculcated even in our farmers. So I don't know how we take from that.
Yeah, I want to commend the last speaker. Yeah, he has really spoken. We have to.
Summed it all.
Yes, yeah, we have to do something, not just folding our hands and have prayer, communal prayers. Of course, prayers are very important. I'm not against prayers anyway. Yeah, but I'm trying to say God gave us everything. So what are we asking from God? Okay? We can only ask when there's a tragedy, there's a calamity some kind where we need God's intervention. But all in all, normally things are okay. Then I was trying to, maybe I can summarize my discussion over the education aspect. It takes government efforts, political will, to ensure that farmers are being assisted to access education equipments, so that they can forge ahead with farming activities, even when there's drought. Our farmers today who are in the rural areas, if they had access to water, we were not going to be coming here talking about climate change, because farmers will be busy. Okay? Look at the commercial farmers. They're not complaining, because right now they're educating, using pivotal kind of education. Yeah, so the challenge, I challenge the government to really come up with proper measures and mechanisms on how best they can assist the farmers.
Talking of measures, I think we'll get to discuss in detail after we just have this short break. And when we come back, we'll talk of what are some of the measures that should be embarked on from both the private sector and also government. Let's have a breather with this short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Africa is rising to a new dawn of integrity and accountability. Are you tired of being swindled or buying fake or illegal properties? Would you like to sell or buy genuine property? Would you like to list your property on both local and international market? Don't waste your time. Call the professionals, the SGK Properties, on +260 762 166 018. SGK Properties. Your business assurance is our priority.
Camnet TV is here to entertain, educate and inform you. Catch Rise and Thrive at 0730 hours every Saturday. Fresh and new praise and worship comes Monday to Friday at 8 hours. Kids need to be glued to the TV every weekday at 09 hours for their favorite cartoons. Off the pitch with the boys as they talk about sport on Saturdays at 09:30 hours.
Remember, we are also here to entertain you with our different varieties of movies every weekday at 10 hours. Join Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluba with Healing Word Ministries International Church live sermon every Sunday at 10 hours.
Katamanda brings to you another journey of gospel ministers on Saturdays at 10:30 hours. The verdict comes to your screens at 17:45 hours. Join the Revival Harvest Church every Sunday at 18:30 hours.
Every Monday to Saturday, join us on the news desk at 12 hours as we bring to you the midday news, and at 19:30 hours Central African time every day for the main bulletin.
The ministry with Pastor Moses Chilua comes every Friday at 20:45 hours. On Mondays, it's your favorite national matters at 20:45 hours.
Wednesday and Thursday, Pastor Victoria and Moses Chiluba are on Partnership of Greatness with different spiritual teachings at 20:45 hours.
And Frank on Camnet comes to your screen every Tuesday at 20:45 hours.
Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Back to the community breakfast show here on Camnet TV. And so just going back to the last caller that we had before the break, that's Reverend Manduli, our regular caller. Alex, if you've observed, he's been calling through. So thank you, Reverend, for keeping in touch and always watching us. So basically, I think there's one thing which I found very interesting. We're talking about people cut trees to put up residential areas. But then maybe there's need for government to put up a policy where if you cut down a tree, if you cut down trees to put up your plot, you have to actually plant those trees. You find that some houses in Lusaka do not even have one tree at the house. The whole yard they do not have. Yes. So I think maybe that's one area where, and if you look at the issue of tree planting, do you know that countries such as Kenya have actually embarked on tree planting on a large scale? Right now in Kenya, they're using drones to plant trees. They use drones which fly to drop seeds all over here. So I think we have to take up some of those measures as Zambia rather than just talking. And so Alex, I hand over to you.
Yes, he was just finishing the aspect of measures to be taken, which I, before we went on the break. So you can just maybe highlight more on what should be done in response to this challenge.
Yeah, I was talking about measures and mechanisms that should be put in place to address this situation. Yeah, the measures, I think I would refer to what the current government is trying to do. Yeah, we have heard both from the Minister of Finance and the President himself.
Okay. So we'll just hold on to that. Good morning.
Morning, how are you?
I'm alright, thank you. I took to breakfast show. Your name and your Yes. We are discussing agriculture in terms of effects of climate change.
They expected drought.
So in short, I would simply say, I commend the government for the plans that they have, that they want to introduce a comprehensive agriculture support program, which will actually revert or address some of these issues, challenges we are facing in agriculture. Because when you talk of comprehensive, meaning that we are not focused on one particular aspect of activity, but it's a diverse kind of approach where you look at different economic activities in agriculture. Yes, like for instance, probably helping farmers in livestock, crop production. We are talking about planting of trees. Agroforest is there to promote such kind of approach. So I'm sure the mechanism and the measures put in place under this project will really help Zambians to have a better environment and a good business in agriculture. But just like we have just mentioned, I've got a point from the last speaker, and talking about cutting of trees. Yeah, what I've learned in Zambia is we are good at talking. Yeah, there are a lot of, we have discussed, we have talked about tree plantation, and ministers have gone down on the ground, to launch some kind of tree planting programs. But it doesn't spread, it doesn't grow. It's just confined with that. Let's say, for instance, if they have done it at a school, okay? Then they'll plant 10 trees there, and then they'll forget.
So we need to plant trees in their millions.
Millions, we have to engage the people in tree planting, you see, and the policy should be staff. The government should put a law to ensure that the trees are not discriminated. We are just too careless here in Zambia. We like so much money, and then that alludes to issues of cutting trees. We are so careless. So we cannot blame the government. We cannot blame God for not responding to our problem because we are so careless anyway. So to say. So as small-scale farmers, development agents, I think we are really working extremely hard to see how best we can assist the farmers to venture into agriculture for a profit and also to sustain themselves and have a good living standard, by linking farmers to resource organizations. But my request, probably, it's like time is going out, is a request to our government. They should not be so reluctant to identify projects on the ground, to help the people on the ground. People actually have decided to go cutting trees because there's no support. And that's the only support that they can get, by cutting trees and making charcoal. You see, because there's no proper support from government. I'm sorry to mention that. So if the government had put in place deliberate measures to ensure that people are being assisted at the grassroots level in the rural areas, this cutting of trees was going to be a story of the past. People would actually do some other activities other than cutting trees. Now, because there's nothing, that's why we see people cutting trees. In fact, if they're planning to ban charcoal selling, I think it will affect the economy. Because people will be in poverty and people will suffer. Yeah, because that's the cheapest thing they can do, they can have. Both the consumers, the customers, and the farmer himself, whoever is cutting the tree. So as SAFADA, we're appealing to government to put necessary measures, like I mentioned, and mechanism on how to ensure that agriculture is flourishing well. Because if agriculture is well supported, I tell you, okay, we are going to preserve nature, we are going to preserve trees, and we are going to protect rivers and so on and so on, because people will be busy on that piece of land. You see. Then my last point probably is appealing to the Minister of Land. They should take serious measures to ensure that the demarcation and the titling of land is actually in proper way. I'm happy to mention here that I'm impressed with the Minister of Southern Province, Mr. Cornelius Mwetwa, who is actually on the ground trying to help people, vulnerable people who have been evicted. You see, farmers who have been evicted. So he's trying to sort out that issue. So if that can also happen in areas like Kisamba and other places, I think we are going to have a better better country, because no one will be complaining. So that will also help agriculture, the economic of agriculture, to flourish well in this country, because of good policies and that political will that our leaders have to support the community. Yes.
Okay. And just before we conclude, since we've been seeing this issue of climate change, which is fluctuating, what is your say concerning crop insurance?
Yes, crop insurance is very important. It's very important because the way it is coming out, the way the package of insurance, it's helping people not to be, in a situation where they are not able to continue business. Okay, in terms, like for instance, we have climate change and the crops are damaged, but if they are insured, the insurance company will assist that farmer to start the farming again, continue farming, because you'll be compensated. But unfortunately, our farmers, the farming community is so ignorant to some of these programs, because they feel like they're just being used, or maybe they just want to accumulate funds for themselves. But it's helping us. You know, we have to insure. Look at the people who are buying vehicles, maybe they've got property, they insure their property. Once their property is gutted or they're into an accident, the insurance company comes in to help. So equally in agriculture, we can do the same, especially small-scale farmers. These commercial farmers, they have insured their property. It's only the small-scale farmers in Zambia who are still lagging behind, and they need to be sensitized.
Okay, on that note, we get to the close of our breakfast show. Zipporah, what are the take-homes of this show, really, from the aspect of our discussion?
Well, I think basically the take-home for me has been maybe, like I've seen, there have been calls for the meteorological department to maybe upgrade the machines. Of course, we appreciate the efforts. We appreciate the efforts. Just so there's need maybe to use the latest technologies to make sure that we have a better forecast. Okay. Yes, to improve on what we already have. It's helpful, but we need to improve.
And about the prayer.
And we've seen as well, yes, we've seen the need for the call from for prayer. So there's a lot of insight on the topic. We've seen both from the religious and just from the general take on the matter. So I'm sure government has got it.
Sure. That was Mr. Boyd MOOBWE who joined us just to discuss this particular issue. Mr. Boyd MOOBWE is the Executive Director for SAFADA, a body that looks at the welfare of the local small-scale farmers in the country. And we've been discussing the possible drought spell that the country is experiencing, and what are the causes and also the measures and the responses from these farmers. It has been me, your host, Alex Chimba, and also my colleague and co-host Zipporah Mishala. It's a close, and hope we'll be meeting next week, Monday and Tuesday, same time, 7 hours to 9 hours. And we've enjoyed really your interaction, and see you there. Goodbye.